Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Colney Talk Podcast, a bite-sized show. I'm your host, Alex. First-time guest, happy to have you here. And to my returning listeners, thanks for joining me. On this bite-sized show, I talk a bit about the Arsenal game and then pick out my top 3 Arsenal players who I think were great in the game and one player I consider the odd one who just had a poor game or not good enough who just needs to be called out. Arsenal stormed into London Stadium and almost spelt West Ham with the amount of goals in this return game. A humble homecoming for Declan Rice. This was a bloodbath, and there's so much takeaway in this game. Talking about our lineup, Kivior starting in place of Zinchenko, Trossard slotting in for Jorginho, and Havertz for Jesus still out. On paper, to me, this is a quality for quality replacement in most aspects, but I'd be lying if I wasn't worried about the midfield partnership with Trossard because this West Ham team is stacked up in terms of physicality. Start of the game, Kivior was cold to the start of the build-up, losing the ball early on in the back. Defensively, we had to react pretty well enough to get out of that situation, and that was an early jolt for Kivior to get his head in the game. In the early minutes, West Ham were stationed in the middle of the field, different from the last game we had where they were really in a defensive shape. I guess the instruction was for them to really expect a lot of attacking, so they really were open and they were up for it, trying to go forward. So it was a little less defensive formation from West Ham, and they were pressing Arsenal at the start of the game. And Trossard was traveling in different positions. In one play, he was clustered on the right wing with Odegaard, and certainly that was such an interesting type of formation or situation with him moving around, and that was also an unpredictable outlook for him in the game. In another positive series of the play, Arsenal's set piece in free kicks just kept West Ham honest, and they were a little worried about that because they knew we had that as one of our arsenal, if you will, pun intended. And Arsenal had to play with heavy concentration against West Ham's press, as I said earlier, because they were open in this game and they were going forward, pressing us from the back. And it was a challenge. And Kivior had his hand full against Kudus and trying to make sure that he maintained his composure when he was on the ball and trying to get through the press at the time. And a bit of Martinelli's mistake on a pass put Arsenal in another dangerous situation, and thankfully it was closed down. Around the 18-minute mark in the first half, Rice passed the ball to Ben White and was switching simultaneous sequence of position where Rice now switched to left back and Ben White coming in. It was as if they were both reading each other's mind, and that was quite a sight. Just a glimpse of so much of what we're going to expect in this game. Saka on the ball, he was so in the mood to shoot. I mean, you could tell there was something that he had in his mind and something to prove in this game. Arsenal were not stagnant in West Ham's box at all in terms of crosses and shots because they were released so quickly even when there were bodies in front, and that's what I like. That's exactly what we expect from these players because it causes a lot of chaos, disruption, and fear. And Trossard was one of them in contributing in that aspect, and he was brilliant and one to watch, seeing how he kept swinging in different positions in different times and playing up top as a partner with Havertz. That was such an interesting play from him. But the game looked even with West Ham showing a lot more aggressiveness on the ball and the pressing because they pushed us in some tight situations when we were building from the back, trying to get forward, and it wasn't such an easy movement, even though we didn't have so much difficulties with that. As the game went on, the party now started from the 31st minute. From a corner, Saliba paid it back with a banging goal. Nice header, 1-0. What a relief. Arsenal kept going forward. Odegaard and Kivior crosses in the box were beautiful crosses and slight misses on the headers from Saka. And Saka, with his attempts, was just punching on through on the chances, and as I said, he really had something out in this game and wanted to get on the score sheet or get someone in that score sheet. And he had one of the shots on goal that rolled off a bit around the edge of the post, and this was like the final moment where I felt something was coming. And then shortly after that, he was not going to be denied, but his chance this time was denied and rewarded with a penalty. So that was what set us up for the second goal, potentially Saka holding the ball for the spot kick, and right away he put it away, and that was 2-0. Arsenal played like they hadn't done anything yet, because we have seen situations where they're 2-0 up, lose that lead, and then squabble the whole chances afterwards. So going for another goal was how the team looked and played, and sure enough, a set piece from Rice again gave Big Gabby a chance to score 3-0. I couldn't believe it. Our two center backs on the score sheet. That has to be a record. Hopefully someone corrects me. And yes, his knee slide was better this time for Big Gabby. I could have been mistaken, but West Ham have the height, they have the physicality, and at least could have given Arsenal a tough time in that situations, from corners, from set pieces. But boy, were we wiping them on the floor with their defense. It was just horrible. Arsenal were light on their feet, winning most of the second balls and driving forward. Havertz, I'll keep saying it, he's a master in disrupting the oppositions in the pass flows, and has a sense in where things can really be effective for Arsenal going forward, and he did quite a lot of that. So with 7 minutes added towards the end of the first half, I thought Arsenal sucked away any steam from West Ham to close out the first half and get ready for the second. But sorry, there seems to be a problem with that statement, because Trossard had to show everyone who he really is with a fourth goal. One word for me: disbelief. I mean, could not believe what I was seeing. 4-0, only counting down to the end of the first half, yet the Gunners were in control going forward. And what a banger of a goal from Trossard. Just unbelievable. Now it turned into an away home game with Arsenal fans singing out the noise. It was just all Arsenal fans through and through, and that was just amazing. It was now the end of the first half, and you can see the boos following them, as most of the fans just called it curtain calls. But then second half, just because we had pretty much put the game to bed didn't mean we needed to tolerate any sloppiness, complacency, or poor plays, because we had the lead in hand. So Arsenal were now comfortable playing with little resistance in West Ham's final third, still moving forward, and it just felt like there were so many more chances that were coming. And Havertz had the first meaningful shot in the second half on goal, this time only a few inches off the post. So again, there was just signs of more goals coming in. And Trossard, the designated number 6, was now playing a little bit more up top next to Havertz. So I could imagine how difficult it was figuring out who was marking whom. And with Trossard just all over the place, that was just a lot to deal with. And to that effect, his combination with Odegaard driving forward was so good. The sequence of play ending with a shot from Saka was like slicing through butter. And again, this was that sure sign of a goal just about to come. And following that, Arsenal recycled to drive the ball in with a few good passes. And this final shot by Martinelli was blocked by Trossard getting in the way. This was just a lot of positives, as I mentioned, because we had, I think, about 5 or 4 Arsenal players in the box just ready to pounce on the second ball and react swiftly. And that tells you how dominant Arsenal were in this game. I didn't see West Ham pressing or defending as you normally would think, and their intensity, as they showed in the first half, was nowhere present nor existent. It just felt like a complete 360 from the first half. West Ham got the ball by the way of missed passes, and indeed the Gunners were quick to get back behind the ball to defend and starve off any danger. So that was just little blips of momentum for, if you call it that, for West Ham to go forward, but then that was just only short-lived, and we'll get back to the regular scheduled program to just drive forward in West Ham's box and try to cause more damage. And what seemed like a routine pass to Saka opened up a lane for him with no resistance at all. Again, as you've heard me say, for the starboard to just fire in the second goal in the game. This was now 5-0. Good heavens. I didn't see West Ham giving up this early, but it felt like we took away their soul. Arsenal going again for another, and Ben White laid out a perfect pass for a shot, but Odegaard and Trossard crossed wires again because they had done that earlier and missed their moment to fire a shot. But this chance wasn't lost. It was the final nail in the game coffin by none other but Declan Rice, making it 6-0. It was hit brilliantly with power, finesse. I mean, it couldn't have been scripted any better. What a homecoming for this big guy. Now, it was subs time. First guy off, Rice, with all applause, well deserved, followed by Saka and Trossard for El Neni and Reese and Nketiah coming on. The plays didn't drop off for the Arsenal subs, but then it seemed to have slowed down quite a bit, which I would expect. But then the other interesting highlight was Ethan Nwaneri coming in for Martinelli and Cedric for Ben White. So amazing. Now I had more reasons to watch the game and look a little bit more with excitement to just see how the game would flow. And speaking of Ethan, he looked comfortable, getting the ball quite a lot more times. Nketiah and Reese each missed moments in when they were moved out of position where they could have, fired a final pass when they were played in West Ham's box, but they just missed out at that moment. And everything was just going on. And then at the 81st minute, Arsenal really had to do one of the best defending for the team to protect that clean sheet when Bolden and Kudus got a chance in the box and shot directly to Raya, who, cleaned and blocked it off and got that save. And we had to get ourselves back in position to go forward again. And then everything after that was game control and defensive awareness, kill off any spark from West Ham. 3 minutes after 90, nothing but set pieces and seeing the game clock out. And that was the game. 6-0, 3 points, and clean sheet. What a performance. What a beatdown. The players were impressive and looked levels above West Ham in ways that took away their elements of identity. I mean, West Ham looked like their engine was turned off early on in the game. No sign of physicality from them at all. And shocking to their defensive efforts were just looked so pedestrian. I really like that Ethan Nwaneri got a chance to move, drive forward, even within the box. And he had a whole lot more minutes in the game. And that was so good for him and meaningful for him down the stretch. So a lot of promise for that guy. And I'm sure he's definitely going to enjoy the moment that he got in this game. So let me talk about my top 3 performers in this game. First up, Saka. He was on fire today. Played with that added motivation, as you could tell. The early chances that came from him was just an early sign and did not stop him from continuing on. Movements in the box were quick and reactive when firing shots and crosses with his header. Just didn't care, just had to do something, and his determination to score or assist was very evident. With Arsenal's 12 shot on target in this game, I think he had about 6 of them, so that was a big game from him. Second player, Declan Rice. I mean, a homecoming for this monster of a player, coupled with an amazing assists and a thunderous goal. Whew. He commanded the middle and played up the field when we regained possession very well. It may sound like a repeated comment, but his consistency is unraveled. My worry, though, is the knocks and niggles he experienced. But take nothing away from this man. He's simply a warrior, and he has just been amazing. Third and final player, Odegaard. He was sublime in his passes and breakaways in attacking zones. While I still like a little less dribbles in the box, a few release shots from him and attempts set things just right. So again, there's improvements that I will live with, and the fact that Trossard and Odegaard both got in positions to shoot showed me that they were really hungry to score and very well aggressive when they got into the box, not wasting any chances that they got. So big game from the captain. Now I'm going to give a special shout out to Trossard, though. Definitely deserves some more flowers because his versatility in this game was huge, similar to the kind of influence Havertz brings when he's up top. And the fact that he was able to move within positions and do things that you wouldn't expect him in this game. As I said, he was a player that was worried playing in the middle, but it wasn't just him stationed there alone. He moved up top, played on the wing, played in different positions, and just, in the box, he was ruthless. So What a goal from him. Yeah, special shout out. But now let me ask you this. Is it possible to have such a dominant game and yet have someone play poorly from Arsenal, that is? Nah, I don't think so. I haven't seen that yet, and I hope I don't. No odd one today, no nitpicking, none of that. And hopefully I can continue to say a whole lot more. We did the job. Arsenal fans reveled in this beatdown and made sure they enjoyed it. That's how you repay and bounce back in a rematch situation like we just had for this game. The pressure continues, and the boys are fighting their way through it each game. Keep the belief up and high, guys. Enjoy this win. Share and subscribe. I'll leave it here for now. Talk to you all soon. Until then, take care.